back to another Doctor Who Big Chief Studios review, however in a slightly smaller scale than you are expecting. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at another one of their expansion packs, which this time round is the 11th Doctor Handel's Cyberman Head expansion pack, because for quite a while now, I've had the 11th Doctor Big Chief 1/6 scale figure, and I've not had the Handel's head to go along with him, because it was originally a sort of subscription gift type thing that you got by pre-ordering the figure, and I got it after its release, so I naturally didn't get the Cyberman head until now, and I'm incredibly excited to in fact have this release from them, because I've been wanting it for such a long time, and it's a nice little thing to finally complete the 11th Doctor on the shelf. Taking a look at the packaging, there isn't really too much to talk about. As you can see on the very front, we get Doctor Who, we get the title of the set, as you can see, Handel's Cyberman Head, a massive barcode BBC Big Chief logo, and that is virtually it. This itself on the front is a little bit of a sticker, and it's just a corrugated white box, as it's just your standard expansion pack, really. And then taking a look on the inside, you do get this nice sort of foam piece there, protecting the actual item on the inside. Taking that off there, and as you can see, we get the Cyberman Handel's head nicely displayed on the inside. I do believe that when you originally open this is in fact protected in a little bit of a small bag type thing. However, due to me having this over Christmas, I do believe the small bag has gone walkabouts, so yeah, I no longer have that, but the head is still nicely protected on the inside, and there you go, just sliding that out, you have the empty box, and then you can just put that back in, so it is nicely protected on the inside. And then we have, of course, the Cyberman head itself. Taking a closer look at the head itself, as you can see, it's been rather nicely done. It's something you come to expect, really, from Big Chief. Generally, overall, the material that it's been made from, I do believe, is some form of plastic, as it does have some weight to it. However, it's not too heavy, because even though you would think a higher quality collector's piece will be quite heavy, you need to think that the actual figure will need to hold this, meaning that if it was too heavy, the hand will pop off and it won't be able to hold it whatsoever. So it's a nice combination between sort of some weight to it and not too heavy at the same time, which is a nice thing to see. And the unusual thing is, if you actually just cover up the wires at the very bottom, you do get some impression of what actual Big Chief Cyberman full-scale figure would look like. Having this head in there, as you can see, rather nicely sculpted. We have many different panel sections on this. Naturally, with this being Handel's, though, however, it has been battered and scraped up to make it look very much like the prop from the actual story. So as you can see, starting off at the front here, you have many different panel sections. You have almost this plastery metal piece at the very top there, with a few screws sculpted on across some cracks at the very bottom there, along with a little bit of almost rusting or smears towards the side, which has been done nicely in sort of a brown paint application, with a few bits of speckled rust there towards the side also, and around the sides of the eye. Once again, a really nice continuation of many different sort of panels that aren't really meant to be there, that is kind of just holding the actual Cyberman head together. Nicely sculpted screws on either side to make it look like it's been physically nailed onto the actual head, so really giving it a very battered and nice effect. Taking a look at the actual eyes themselves, it's really nice to see that these have been embedded into the actual head, meaning there is a little bit of depth there. This has just been replicated by applying a little bit of black glossy paint there towards the side. Taking a look at the opposite eye, as you can see, a little bit more battle-worn damage has been applied to this one, so we do have a few cracks and things towards the side. I really like this physical crack here that we have at the very bottom, which has in fact ripped the actual plastic, really nicely creating a very authentic sort of battered look. Once again, at the very top of the head, we do get the major damaged section. As you can see, this reveals a little bit of circuitry underneath. Once again, much like the eyes, this has actually been embedded into the actual armour, giving it a little bit of depth and shading, which has been nicely replicated with a clear piece of plastic there, which does in fact illuminate, which I'll come onto that feature in a little bit, but I do really like the way that the paint has been applied around the sides of this, once again giving that very nice and rustic feel. Of the lower half of the mouthpiece there, once again following a similar ripped effect, much like the eye at the very top there, having this rather nice section at the very side there that has been done straight, much like our Cyberman mouth would be, and then the one at the opposite side has in fact been ripped and sort of battered. Again, a little bit of weathering is applied to the sides of the figure, giving it a rather nice sort of blemished look. Back there, once again, very much like a normal Cyberman head with several panels and things, much like how they have in the actual series. The sides of the handles there, which have been rather nicely sculpted, along with the different ridges and things, much like how the actual prop does have, along the handles there at the very top of the different sections, which have been rather nicely sculpted. Once again, a few raised sections in this, as well as a few lower sections, creating that almost pipe design that is embedded into the actual piping itself. Similar sort of design to the rest of the head, having a few blemishes and rust marks on there, and the same thing applies to the opposite handle as well, once again with a few sort of scratches and things in there as well, along with the different sections at the top there, replicating the grating once again as seen on your normal Cyberman heads. At the very bottom of the head, we do have the connector piece that would normally go on to connect to the actual Cyberman neck. However, with this being Handel's, of course, it's once again all ripped and damaged there with a few different panel sections at the very bottom. And then we go on to this plug piece here, which has been really nicely replicated with a bunch of wires that have been nicely coloured in different ways. So we have a few yellow ones in there, which have just been replicated, I do believe, with PVC or something like that. Some more flexible than others, once again with a few scratch marks and things on, with a big piping section section going down the very middle. However, a thing that I really do like is at the very top of this piece here, we do also have this rather ragged section, which is actual material, sort of replicating the under sort of layer that you have naturally on the Cyberman armor. So that is a really nice thing, once again making it look like very much a Cyberman head that's been physically ripped from the actual body, giving it a really nice impression. The back of this Cyberman head does in fact come off, however it's been really nicely disguised. So we do in fact have these side handles, which are a separate piece, and then this in fact connects up to the handles underneath, meaning that where you would normally have the massive sort of separation mark, this is in fact sort of hidden, as you can see there, by the handles over the top. So that has been really nicely done. And the way to get the back off is basically just put your nail under the lower section of the back piece, and then this will eventually just click away as so. With this being a Big Chief product, of course this back part of the Cyberman head is in fact connected onto the main piece of the Cyberman through the use of magnets, which means it is very strongly actually kept onto the actual body, meaning that if you plonk this back on and shake it a little bit, as you can see there, it doesn't come off whatsoever, making sure that it is really secure. However, one major issue of having magnets right near the battery compartment is when you're trying to put in the actual batteries, which this figure does in fact take sort of small circular cell batteries. This can be rather fiddly anyway. However, when you add two magnets on either side, if you use a screwdriver to sort of put them into place, it can be a little bit frustrating, as the magnet will sort of try to connect to the other magnets, and the batteries will also try to connect to the screwdriver, and it is a little bit of a mess. But yeah, still either way, you'll get used to it eventually. But I do like the way that this has been hidden now with the screw at the very top along the black section, which is of course the switch to turn on the electronics. To this being a small product, it does have a minor little issue, meaning that the actual switch to activate all the lights is in fact rather small and fiddly, meaning that when you try to turn this on, it can be a little bit frustrating. However, at the same time, when I originally opened this and tried to turn on the lights, it was in fact very easy. But I do believe over time, bearing in mind it has been a few weeks for me to actually own this now, it has, I do believe, sort of embedded itself into the actual board at the very back here, meaning to turn it on, you kind of do need a pen to sort of wedge into the actual light switch here, and then sort of just turning on the switch as so, and there you have it. You sort of need to push along the actual switch to make it turn on, which can be a little bit annoying, but at the same time, I don't particularly mind too much, because if the lights have been illuminated, it gives a really nice effect. As you can see, there's two sections at the front here, which do show the lights below. So as you can see, first off, we have the mouth at the very bottom with one LED shining out. Both light sections have been given this bluish filter, much like how it had in the actual TV show itself. However, what is nice to see is once the lights have been illuminated, it gives a little bit more of attention to the cracks around the side of the mouth. Taking a look at the top half section, that has been ripped once again to reveal a little bit of circuitry there. Once again, another LED nicely shines out here at the very top, creating a little bit of depth, and once again, very much making it look like the actual Cyberman head is alive and sort of doing little bits of programming. And I almost want this to talk, sort of. It would have been really nice if somehow we could have a sound chip embedded into the head that maybe goes affirmative or something like that, or maybe another one of the Handel's quotes from the actual story that I can't particularly remember because I'm the Doctor in many years. But yeah, it would have been nice to maybe have a sound chip in there. However, I don't know how feasible and money sufficient that would be, bearing in mind it is this scale. To be quite honest, I'm very shocked that we didn't have a actual prop replica Cyberman head of Handel's released with actual speech and things like that around the time of the Doctor, because that would have probably been a very good seller, especially in the children's department. Overall, the lights are really effective, and I do really like the inclusion on this figure, and it just really gives an added bonus. So bringing on the Series 7B 11th Doctor 1/6 scale figure from Big Chief, this is in fact still in stock on the Big Chief website, so if you are interested in this figure, then I do definitely recommend checking out the review that I've done. Then if you are further than interested, I do actually recommend buying the product, because it is one of the oldest ones that is still actually in stock, so if anything, this will probably be the next figure to go out of stock on the Big Chief website, so basically get it soon if you actually want it. So I'm going to be applying the Handel's head to this figure. Now, to be honest, I don't really think there's any hand that specifically needs to hold the Handel's head. It can be either the left one or the right one, whatever you desire, I guess. You can have any one you want, along with any actual posed hand. So the good thing about the Big Chief figures is the hands are incredibly flexible, meaning that when you have a hand in a certain pose, it doesn't necessarily need to stay within the actual pose. If anything, it can actually flex around whatever prop it is holding. So I'm just going to go for this hand first. As you can see, a rather open palmed hand. I do sort of recommend putting the sort of furthest handle away in the actual hand. That seems to hold a little bit better, and as you can see, just squeezing it in there, it's probably not the best hand to actually hold it with, but that does nicely hold the Handel's head as so, sort of just dangling it down there, making it look like an almost relaxed position. You can also put the Handel's head in the opposite hand as well. As you can see, generally it really nicely completes the look of the 11th Doctor. Of course, I don't believe that this is actually the costume that was seen within the actual story. This is more of just a generic mid-season 7B 11th Doctor figure. figure. However, it's probably the closest that we're ever going to get to an actual Trenzalot 11th Doctor, and generally, I'm just more happy that we actually have a handles in the collection rather than an actual accurate costume from the time of the Doctor. And of course, I guess even though handles didn't really meet the 12th Doctor, you can sort of take off the 11th Doctor head, put on the 12th Doctor one, and remove the bow tie, and then you could have a regeneration time of the Doctor figure, so that would be rather cool. But generally overall, I think that it really nicely completes the look of the figure. Just for a few additional poses, just for a little bit of fun, here is the handle's head, nicely illuminated in the Doctor's arms, much like how he was throughout many scenes in the time of the Doctor, and I do believe that he had his glasses on within that episode as well, so I decided to shove those on. So generally overall, it adds a whole new level of posability to this figure. I've had the 11th Doctor now for, I do believe, about 2 years. However, simply by having this additional accessory, it really nicely brings a whole new level of posability, a little bit more sort of adventurous poses in there as well. It's sort of nice to have something from his final story as the Doctor, as I said, just generally completing the look and making it look a little bit more exciting on the shelf. However, I do not really recommend having the handle's head illuminated for long. I think especially if you're doing something like photography with this figure, then by all means have the handle's head illuminated. However, I do not recommend having the actual head illuminated when on display 24/7 because naturally it is a battery, it will die out quite quickly, so you only really have it illuminated when you want it illuminated for some type of purposes as opposed to all the time, because as I said, the battery will just go immediately and you don't want that to happen really. So overall, for the Doctor Who Big Chief Studios 11th Doctor Handles Cyberman Head Expansion Pack, it's kind of just dawned on me how unusual this review actually is. To be quite honest, I really like it. I think that naturally, if you're somebody that already owns the 11th Doctor Series 7 B16 scale collector figure, I think that this is definitely something I would recommend buying, because naturally you will be already used to actually buying expensive products, so maybe necessarily the price of this won't exactly put you off, because the recommended retail is around £40, which I do think that some people may consider a little bit expensive for a Cyberman head, but definitely if you're somebody that has a lot of Big Chief figures or even has the 11th Doctor figure and wants something different to display with it or set it apart from the other Big Chiefs that you already own, then this is definitely a product that I would definitely recommend worth considering. If you're somebody that does not own the 11th Doctor Big Chief figure, however just wants a Cyberman head of replica of handles, then yeah, by all means buy this. If you're somebody that has watched this review and generally likes the look of it and would like one for your shelf, then yeah, I do recommend it, because it naturally is a Big Chief product, so it does have a lot of detail, is incredibly good quality, and the paint apps are also really nice and very much does represent what is seen in the actual story, and this is actually probably the most accurate replica to handles that is on the market currently, actually owning the real Cyberman handles head. So yeah, and the light feature is also really nice. It does definitely make the product look very much alive and does set it apart from the other Big Chiefs in your collection. However, it would have been nice to maybe have a little bit of revision to the electronics at the very back. As I say, the magnets is a little bit complex, especially when you're trying to put the batteries in and the magnets are at the either side. It is a little bit fiddly to an extent, and at the same time, when you actually want to turn this product on and off, I do believe that the switch has in fact been recessed into the actual head itself, meaning that it can be hard to activate on and off every so often, and I do need to use a pen, so it would have been nice to maybe have a slightly bigger switch to make that a bit easier to do, or maybe have a clicky button or something like that that doesn't actually involve a slider switch, just to make it a little bit easier. Just my little complaints really that could have made this product a little bit better, and maybe it would have been nice to have a sound chip in there as well to make it say affirmative or something like that, whatever else he actually said within the actual story, but I don't know how sufficient that would be for the actual scale of the product. So yeah, generally overall, a really nice little product, something of which you may want to consider, as I say, if you have Big Chief figures or if you generally want a Cyberman head. But yeah, that's that for this review. Also, just as a little side note, if you're somebody that is in fact very much into collecting 1/6 scale figures, then the handles head is also available in the 11th Doctor expansion pack, which I do believe is around £79, which also includes the trench coat from Series 6 Part 2 and the Stetson head also from Series 6 as well. So yeah, if you would like the handles head, there is definitely 2 ways to buy it on the Big Chief website, and no doubt some third-party retailers may also be stocking this product as well. This product is limited edition to 1,000, however it has been in stock for quite a while, so I'm guessing it's not exactly going to go out of stock anytime soon. That's that for this review. Hope you've enjoyed it. I shall probably see you in another review in the near future, and probably my next Big Chief video will actually be a full-on 1/6 scale figure as opposed to just an actual head, so I guess I will see you then. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.